Oh, well, this is my fourth video, I'm sure. But I found something else that I just actually posted on my Facebook group, Great Deceptions of the End Times, and I didn't include it in my video. So I have to go all over again and make it again because it was part, really, of my topic. Of course, yesterday was 4th of July, and um, I wanted to do kind of a little bit on freedom and whatever, democracy. Of course, we don't have democracy or freedom, but you know what? What do we celebrate on 4th of July? I don't know. Do people even know? How many people actually know what we are celebrating on 4th of July? How many? What do you think? Sometimes they make these surveys and ask people, if they know what the 4th of July is, and people never know it. Why? Because they're uneducated. Lots of people are uneducated. I don't know if they learn it in school, but shouldn't everybody know that what 4th of July is? Independence Day from England, and independence, independence and freedom, from tyranny that we had, or that our people before us had, when they try to free themselves from the King of England. Now, I don't even know if people do know the history. Don't even know if people know history. Okay? Lots of people, like I said, they think 4th of July is for celebrating and for eating. That's what my new neighbor thought. Was cleaning or working in my yard and pulling weeds, and he said, well, you're not celebrating or eating. Like, that is really 4th of July, what 4th of July is about. But really, I don't want to talk about what people think we should celebrate on 4th of July. I'm interested in really people thinking about freedom. Do we have this freedom still today? Do we have this democracy still today that we started out with? Okay? What really happened, people, historically, that we ended up with the United States? Does anybody know that? Does anybody know about even American history? How this country was founded by people that left Europe. Why did they leave Europe? Do you know why they left Europe? It wasn't just the kings and, the dominance there, but it was also papacy that they left. Many of our forefathers, they came here because papacy was after them, because of freedom of religion. Okay, freedom of religion. So when they came over here, because they looked for a country where they can actually freely worship God the way they want it, they also eventually wanted to take themselves away or cut themselves off from the dictator, the King of England. And it wasn't just the King of England, but King of England, he claimed, of course, ownership of the United States. And so they had to cut loose from that dictator, because at the time, I guess, he was in control. So people they were very courageous and said that they wanted to be independent. They don't want to be dominated anymore by any tyrant. This is what Independence Day is all about. This is what the 4th of July is all about. Is being free, making our own choices, whether it be for freedom of speech, First Amendment, to own guns or weapons, to defend ourselves. Not only defend ourselves to outsiders, but defend ourselves from the government, people. That is why we have the First Amendment. The government. And what is the government doing today? They think they have to protect themselves. How did this come about? That the government thought they have to protect themselves from the people who actually voted for them. That's something new. Okay? No, in the beginning, we the people chose our government. We chose the people in leadership, and we think today we still have the same freedom to choose our people. Well, people say, well, we're voting. Isn't that enough? Well, maybe that's what we are hearing in school. Oh, yeah, we have the what is that called? I don't know, responsibility to vote. I don't believe as Christians we should be voting, period. Because all the governments are in the hands of, you should know if you follow my videos, right? Of Satan. All governments. Now, I've done a lot of videos on this beast system not too long ago. I think one before that one, the last one. The beast system. I have done so many on the beast system. And you know who the beast system is, right? The United States is the beast out of the earth. Now, there is no discussion about this. Okay? That's just the way it is. If you can't see that, that's too bad. Anyways, and then we have the beast out of the earth, the sea, which is the European system, political system. Remember, the political system of Europe is made up of various kingdoms. Even today, okay? Is made up of various kingdoms. So that's what Europe is. That's that beast with the 10 horns. Okay? And of course, then we have the fifth beast. And of course, who is that? That's the United States. It can't be nobody else. Because the United States today is what? It's the empire, okay? The world empire, the United States. So that's the only way it can be. And beasts are always empire or world, leaders. So anyways, so what do we have today? Should we still celebrate the freedom we have? This freedom that our our ancestors, can I say that? Our founding fathers established. I think we're far, far from that. Why? Because, see, our founding fathers, they came from Europe, where they were persecuted and wanted to establish here a country, an independent country. But as soon as they came over here, the one that was persecuting them, and it wasn't necessarily the king, but I'm also talking about papacy, because papacy was the ultimate enemy, mostly of the people that came over here in the beginning, because they wanted to have freedom of religion. But as soon as they try to start a country here on freedom of religion, so everybody else came and wanted to be part of this free country, and also of finding land and wealth and whatever. So along came, of course, the Catholic Church as well, and they brought their parishioners over here as well to establish, of course, this country for the Pope as well. So we went right back into this old system again, where we had the beast out of the the sea, and on top sat who? Babylon the Great, right? Revelation, and I'm looking right now for a book that I want to show you, so I'm going to have it here with me. So on top sat, of course, Babylon the Great, the Roman Catholic Church. Please, if you are still confused, look at Revelation 17 and 18. That is not, Babylon the Great is not Jerusalem. Okay? Jerusalem, a city, cannot be a whore. Okay? It's always the people that are located in that city. Okay? So who's located in the city of Jerusalem, for instance, that could be that whore. Judaism? No. Judaism does not have world power. Sorry. Think they lied to us. A couple of years ago, we had about this, what is it called? Noahide law kind of thing. Everybody was going nuts over Noahide laws. No, it's not the Zionists either. The Zionists do work for the whore, Babylon the whore. They do. That's right. They do. But they are not the whore. Okay? They're still a whore because they're whoring around with the real whore, Babylon the Great, the merchants of the Zionists, right? Are whoring around with Babylon the Great. You see that in Revelation 18, that the merchants of this world, they whore around and make deals with Babylon the Great, right? But they are not Israel. They are not Jerusalem. They're not Zionism. Babylon the Great has been identified by several people like Martin Luther, okay, and this guy right here, Charles Chiniquy, in this book, 50 Years in the Church of Rome, the conversion of a priest. I have mentioned this book before, people, okay? And so maybe it's time that I bring it up again, especially because we celebrated 4th of July yesterday. And we need to realize that, hello, we are not the country anymore that our founding fathers did start. We're not. We have been totally infiltrated by the enemy that the people left when they left Europe. Okay? People that left Europe, they left because they were, yes, dominated by kings, but more they were dominated by the religious system, by Rome, by papacy. Okay? They came over here because they were looking for freedom of religion. And that's what they founded this country on. Freedom of religion, freedom to choose your life. Okay? Freedom to determine whether, what you're going to do for your health. Okay? Freedom to be educated the way you want to be educated. Freedom to get the job you want to get. Freedom to raise your children the way you want. Freedom for speech. Okay? You don't have to be afraid what you said and somebody was standing behind you and would put you and lock you up for saying something, that somebody didn't like. And I wonder who didn't like it. Okay? In Europe, the European countries, they were under the rule of papacy for many, many years. 1,500 years to be exact, actually maybe 13 or 12. And then many of the countries said, no, we're not going to bow down to the Roman Catholic Church anymore. And so they had a 30-year war going on in Europe that destroyed everything. And after that, they continued to war around over this religion because the Pope did not want to give people freedom. So a lot of people came to the United States so they can start their own faith groups. Okay? But all that is now dwindling down. Why? Because the Roman Catholic Church has also taken over again the United States. How do I know that? This is the guy that was writing about it. Charles Chiniquy, in 50 Years in the Church of Rome. That's who talked about it 150 years ago, people. Okay? 150 years ago. He was a friend of Abraham Lincoln. And as you know, Abraham Lincoln was what? He was killed. Why was he killed? Because he didn't go along with the financial system that the Roman Catholic Church wanted to establish in the United States. It was a war not over slavery. It was a war over finances. And a lot of people don't know that. But Charles Chiniquy wrote about Abraham Lincoln because he was friends with him. Okay? And because he was in the Roman Catholic Church for a long time, and he was actually attacked by a lot of mean bishops and finally left it, He actually came from Canada and founded a colony in, I think, Illinois, and a Catholic colony. And so he knew exactly what went on in the Roman Catholic Church. Unfortunately, the first part of the book, well, no, that's a kind of good thing too, but it's very hard to get through because it's so thick. It talks about the corruption in the Roman Catholic Church, and then in the end part, it talks about really the infiltration of the Roman Catholic Church into the American government and how they planted it, what the Pope during Chiniquid's time already was thinking about the United States, how he despised the United States because it was built on freedom, and how he was planning to destroy it through the educational system. And because these Protestant people, they thought so highly about this educational system of the Jesuits, and they sent their kids to these schools to be educated, but while they were there, they were turned into slaves or sheep, whatever you want to believe, because that's what the Pope wanted. The Pope wanted people to totally follow the leaders and not think on their own, because he wanted to destroy the freedom of the United States. I know I couldn't believe it when I read this book, but my goodness, it is so obvious when you read it. It's unbelievable, and of course, who does the Pope use? Of course, the Jesuits. Now, that brings me to something else, because, of course, you know about this hierarchy that I sometimes talk about with the all-seeing eye on top, right? The pyramid on the dollar bill, okay? And people talk about the shadow government, but they never understand who is really behind it all, people. They never know who is really behind it all, okay? They stop. Now, some people know this book right here called Tragedy and Hope 101. There's also, this is a summary of the big, thick book called Tragedy and Hope by, I think it is Quigley, could be Quigley, look it up. I think it's Quigley. And he wrote this really thick book, insider book, okay, into our government. But again, he only saw it to a certain level on that pyramid, okay? He only saw one certain level on that pyramid. He couldn't penetrate further. He didn't see further. He only saw certain groups that were used to plan the demise of history since before the First World War. Okay? How in the world did they bring about these two First World Wars? And see, Pike, a Mason, American Mason, he was writing that they were planning 3 world wars. So we don't have the third one yet. But definitely we had the 2, and they were planned. Okay? They were planned. They were planned by a certain group, by certain people that belong to a group. But what we don't see is how now these certain groups, of course nobody did ever the research, how these groups now are connected to the Jesuits, and how they were groomed maybe by the Jesuits, okay? Because nobody did the research, I don't think. If you know anybody who did the research, let me know. There's always people that do research into the Catholic Church and Roman Catholic Church and how they are wheeling and dealing behind the scene to actually hold the power in this world. There's a couple of people. There's one, Chocolate66, who has a lot of information, who does a lot of research. I don't believe everything that he's teaching. I disagree with him on especially the rapture. I think most of it I do agree with him, but the rapture, you know that I believe in the rapture. And when I'm talking about the rapture, I'm extremely aware that that word rapture is only like, somebody told me, 100 years old. But it doesn't matter. The original word is in the Bible. Okay? What is it? Hapazo or something? Hapazo, I think, is the original word. Hapazo is hapazo. Look it up. What's hapazo? Hapazo is snatching out, a fast snatching out. That's what I'm talking about. Jesus returning and snatching his bride out. That's what it is. They didn't translate it with the word rapture because that meant something different 100 years ago. Do the research, okay? Don't blabber, oh, that word is not in the Bible. I know it. And somebody told me it's 100 years old. Yeah, okay. Okay, they came up with this word about 100 years ago. It doesn't matter. It still describes the same thing. And the original word is still the same word, hapazo. I think it's hapazo. Okay? So, no, we don't need to argue over that. But here it is. He doesn't believe in that, and I do believe in it. Why? Because maybe I have more information. Okay? So, anyways, well, now I don't remember where I stopped when somebody so rudely interrupted me. I think I wanted to make a connection with, I was still talking about this book, I think, right? 50 Years in the Roman Church by Charles Chiniquy, and the connection of how the Roman Catholic Church infiltrated. That's what it is. And it's right over here. I need to get it. So how the Roman Catholic Church infiltrated into the U.S. government. And I also talked about this book, Tragedy and Hope, that showed kind of how in the world they did it. Now it's very hard, of course, to see who is behind everything and how they're connected, because people got this information, right? Quickly, I think, got this information. And then there is, of course, Charles Chiniquy, who got some more information. So what we can do is we can put things together, okay? We can put things together. Now, I came across today something on Facebook by a David Nikao Wilcoxon. Okay, David Nikao Wilcoxon. And I'm on his Facebook group, and he put on there the Jesuit Oath. You need to read that. Okay, so go on my Great Deceptions of the End Times Facebook group. You can find it there. But what I didn't see at first is actually what he wrote about the Jesuits. I mean, first you need to read, of course, the Oath, okay, which is extremely interesting. It says here, agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. Okay, so he writes this. He does a lot of good research. So not only Chocolate 66, but also this David does a really good job researching about the Catholic Church. Again, David, I don't agree with everything, but most of it, end times prophecy, I do. I think David also doesn't believe in the rapture. And just because he kind of has his information from the same kind of people, okay? Which is kind of sad, but maybe we all see in part, and we need to put the puzzle pieces together, which is extremely important. But he has this very good information about this society of, he calls it, keeping in mind that the Society of Satan in Rome has an oath to take out people who oppose them by poison or by bullet, no matter their rank. Read these events which have been scrubbed from American history class. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who both opposed the Holy Alliance, of the Papal Church both died on the same day. Now guess when? July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Okay, now you may say, but I thought they founded the United States. Well, I also said that right from the beginning, the Jesuits were on their tails. Okay, right from the beginning. And of course, you know, if you know history, how they did that. Okay, they established, for instance, different Maryland, I believe, is one of them. Okay, Maryland. Okay, Mary. Okay, Virgin Mary. And right there is what? Their major university, which is Georgetown University. Okay, you look at how Washington is laid out with the obelisk, the same obelisk that is in London and the same obelisk that is in the Vatican. Okay, things laid out same way as the Vatican. So did they want that? Of course not. Could they change it? No, they were killed. Both of them. Well, they both died on the same day, on July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I didn't know that. Now, isn't that amazing? Well, it's not all. What are the odds? No autopsy were performed that may have proved that they were poisoned. President James Monroe died on July 4th, 1831, 5 years later, on the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Again, what are the odds? He supposedly died from TB, but the symptoms are basically the same as arsenic poisoning. President William Henry Harrison was elected March 4th, 1841, and served for only 35 days. Then he got sick and died. He had defied the Society of Satan in Rome. He calls it Society of Satan, right? Because it's really the site of Jesus. In his inauguration speech, as he defied their kings, and said that no man should have that power. He also opposed the annexation of Texas, which the Jesuits needed to push the slavery issue. Okay? John Taylor took his place, and the annexation of Texas was approved within a few months. President Zachary Taylor only served from March 1849 and his death in July 1850, when he got violently sick on July 4th. Go figure. He fought the poison for 5 days and avoided the July 4th curse. He died on the 9th. Wow. Unbelievable. He opposed the expansion of slavery and refused to sign a compromise which the Jesuit wanted. Millard Fillmore took his place, who was more malleable to the Jesuits' will. He signed the compromise that Taylor refused to sign. Lincoln had funded the war by printing his own money called greenbacks, which opposed the Jesuit control of the money supply. After the war, Lincoln had to obtain financing quick, and he turned to the Jesuit Rothschilds to secure funding, which caused him to make many compromises with them. So that's why he had to die. Abraham Lincoln said, I have two great enemies, the Southern Army in front of me and the financial institutions in the rear. Of the two, the one in my rear is my greatest foe. He was assassinated later that year. Then the next one is President Kennedy declared the the privately owned Federal Reserve Bank would soon be out of business. JFK started printing $5 billion to replace the Federal Reserve notes. He opposed the Vietnam War and defended the Constitution over the Roman canon law. Roman canon law. Listen to this one. And he said that he was going to expose the secret society. What secret society? Well, the Jesuits, right? 5 months later, he was assassinated. Do you see how the oath has been fulfilled? D.C. is a city-state corporation that is controlled by the general in Rome. Every president knows that they will be taken out if they don't obey the general. Now, who's the general? That's the Black Pope, I believe very much. And there's also a video, so if you want to read that, look at that. That is very good information, people. And I wanted to add it to this video because it shows you clearly that we're not having any freedom. And what we are celebrating, or celebrated yesterday, was definitely not about freedom. It was about, continuing the American way of life, and that's about it. Okay, we are celebrating, we are eating, we're shooting fireworks, and nobody thinks about really what this country was founded on. Okay, because nobody suspects that anything is wrong. Nobody suspects that really democracy is gone. Nobody suspects that our freedom slowly is being yanked out. Slowly. Okay? So we will continue to walk in a daze, which we've been definitely doing for the past, how long? At least 1.5 years. We're walking in a daze, and our freedoms are taken away, and somebody else is taking over the decision what we have to do. Now, this is what Chiniquy wrote in his book. Okay, so look it up. Charles Chiniquy, 50 years in the Church of Rome. That's what he wrote 150 years ago, during Abraham Lincoln's time. That the Pope despises the freedom that Americans have, and he wants people to be again bowing to him. He wants dead corpses. I believe that's what Chiniquy kind of was saying in his book, that he wants dead corpses bowing to him. Okay? So, people, I think we need to wake up. Now, of course, this is now on political freedom, which we will never have in this world anyways. The only freedom, the only really kingdom that we need to be looking forward to is Jesus' kingdom. Of course, I hope everybody is praying every day, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that's all we can look forward to, is the freedom that Jesus is going to give us. In this world, you will have tribulation. And that's what Jesus says. In this world, you will have tribulation. And this tribulation is caused by Satan. Why? Because he dominates the whole system. Literally, the whole system. He has everything now in his hands. When I came to this country in 1976, 200 years of the U.S. That's when I came. 200 years, the U.S. I came here for freedom. And I had to realize that it doesn't live here anymore. But it doesn't live anywhere on this whole world anymore either. Okay? There's no option going back to Europe because Europe doesn't have a democracy. They don't even understand what it means to have freedom, because they have been in bondage for so long. Yeah, they thought for the past 75 years they had freedom. No, freedom does not happen alone. Freedom has to be claimed every day, people. If you're not standing up for your freedom and you're not saying, hey, this is it, I'm not going along with this nonsense, then the government will take over. Now look at our government today, who's running it. If you don't believe me, look at the government. Okay? We have a Catholic president. We have a Speaker of the House Catholic. How many people of the Supreme Court do we have in there Catholic? Who is the guy that controls this thing right here? Okay, that starts with an F. He's Catholic. Okay, he's very trained by Catholics, by Jesuits. So, yeah, our politics are full. Politicians are full of Catholics. Okay? Don't make no mistake. Both sides are controlled by the Jesuits. Both. Okay? Trump was just as much controlled by the Jesuit as Biden is. Okay? It's just the way it is. And so Trump had to do the same thing that the Jesuits said, or else he would have been killed too. Just like who? JFK. Okay? JFK. He didn't want to go along. He was killed. And they all know that. They all are most likely told, if you don't go along, we'll kill you. Now, that's just the way it is. And I really could see that with Trump. Trump thought, oh, he's going to go in there and he's going to be the big shot. And he realized that he wasn't. He was not the big shot. He had to keep his mouth shut and do what they say. It was not in the nature of Trump at all. And I think that's why he didn't make it a second time. It's because he didn't really go along very well with whoever is pulling the strings in the back. Okay? Now, again, if you know this book right here, you know that the Jesuits always use front men. Okay? Groups of people or people that they educate. Okay? Because that's what's happening. And you know, do some investigation, especially, you know, the day after 4th of July. We need to learn, people, about history and what really is going on even today. What is going on today and who is taking over. You know who is on top of the period. The pyramid, the all-seeing eye, you know who that is. If you have watched my videos. If you don't, please watch some of my videos before they're taken down. Anyways, I'm coming to an end. Let the Holy Spirit guide you always.